What's up, YouTube? This is going to be a serious video about Giorgia Meloni and illegal immigration in Italy. Now, back in September, Italy held national elections. Meloni's Fratelli d'Italia came in first place by a landslide. The Italian center-right coalition did phenomenal. There were two regional elections after that. Once again, her party did phenomenal. She became the first ever female prime minister of Italy in October. The media all over the world said, oh, far right, fascist, blah, blah, blah. Well, she was propelled to power under the promise that she was going to finally stop illegal immigration into Italy. And right now, that's not happening. In fact, it's gone completely in reverse. So in 2022, there was roughly 20,000 illegal immigrants that came into Italy in the first 6 months, and there's already been about 20,000 in 2023 already. So I'm going to discuss what's happening as I see it. There's, I think, two fair explanations that are some part of this. I'm going to get into that. First of all, from what I can tell, they're not coming, at least most of them aren't coming from Libya anymore. The first time I can remember ever hearing about Giorgia Meloni is when she was railing against the rest of the Italian government for going along with Obama and Hillary's disastrous war to turn Libya into a failed state. America used their air bases in Italy to provide air support for the LIFG, a group who their own members claimed to be affiliated with Al-Qaeda. Now, Italy went along with this, even though Gaddafi was a major ally and very important to Italy, because America said, either let us use these air bases or we're going to destroy Libya anyway, and then we're going to pull out of Italy and you'll lose billions of dollars from the Pentagon's, $750 billion a year budget. And so Italy capitulated and said, it's better to just go along with this than to lose our share of the money from the Pentagon. It's still at a state of civil war. There's the GNA and the LNA. Now, different countries are on different sides. Most of the world has completely forgotten about it at this point. Italy is the one country that always had good relations with both sides. And so Italy provides material and financial support for the coast guards of both the GNA and the LNA, and both seem to be cooperating. Both are deporting illegal aliens now. So the common MO for years was for people from all over the world. I mean, as far away as, Mozambique to Bangladesh. They would fly into either Egypt or Tunisia, and then they would go into Libya, and then they would pay jihadist groups and criminal gangs to put them on boats. The boats would sit off the coast, and then radical left-wing organizations with huge budgets would come, pick them up, and falsely claim they were being rescued, and then in violation of all kinds of international laws, they would transport these people to Italy. Now, the so-called mainstream media says that these are desperate refugees, desperate, and yet we see that they are all young males. There's no women, there's no children, there's no elderly, at least not very many, and they're paying huge amounts of money. Some of the same mainstream media outlets who say that these are desperate refugees say that they are paying $8,000 in Turkey to get spots on these boats. $8,000. Now, some of these are from countries like Somalia, where you could live on $8,000 for years and years. These are young men from middle-class families. Their families have money. They're using family money to enter Europe illegally for a more lavish lifestyle. It's that simple. They're not refugees. That's a complete lie. One of these ships from Turkey recently smashed into some rocks off the coast of Calabria, and they're saying around 70 people died. And the left-wing NGOs, the left-wing media, they have absolutely celebrated this. No one could care less about their actual lives than the radical left. They have acted absolutely ghoulish about this. The dead people are props to advance their political agenda. So day and night, ever since this shipwreck, they've been hammering Meloni, saying, well, if people are going to come anyway, shouldn't Italy be doing more to protect their safety? And so far, Meloni has held the line and said no, and is adamant that Italy holds no blame. It's the people luring them over. It's the criminal gangs. It's these middle-class young men themselves that are willing to pay a bunch of money to make a extremely dangerous trip. Two things that I think are completely fair to say. Number one, Giorgia Meloni has failed to fulfill her core promise. Illegal immigration has not only not stopped, it's wildly accelerated. So there's no way around this. It is a failure on her part. Now, maybe she's going to turn this around. Maybe she's trying so hard to ingratiate herself with the rest of the EU leadership and the media, who all hate her anyway, that she doesn't have the fortitude to carry out the policies necessary to actually stop illegal immigration. Second, some part of this, maybe the majority, maybe most of it, is being orchestrated on purpose. It's obvious. And we know who's doing it. I made videos about this back in 2018, 2019, back when my videos used to get way more traffic before YouTube was suppressing my distribution. I talked about how these super wealthy NGOs in Europe were making movies, recruitment videos, going to third world countries, showing people videos claiming that Europe had a shortage of rap stars and football players. I mean, they're blatantly recruiting people, young males, to come to Europe. I've demonstrated this in past videos years ago. And so we know that these wealthy far-left NGOs are ideologically motivated to bring huge numbers of non-Europeans into Europe, and they use all kinds of sinister, underhanded means, and they are openly luring and enticing. They spend millions of dollars just to entice people to make these trips to try to get into Europe illegally. Now, two more things. So here's how Meloni is responding to this. On one hand, you get the media day and night hounding her about the shipwreck. And they're using the classic Marxist salami slice tactic. They want to crack open the door. They want to get her to admit that maybe Italy could have done something more to prevent this shipwreck, which then they would just throw the door wide open. Eventually, it would ruin her. And she's held the line on that. She refuses to admit that Italy shares any blame for this shipwreck. But then on the other hand, she says that yes, a large portion of this is being intentionally orchestrated, but instead of blaming the actual culprits, she says it's Wagner private military company from Russia. So essentially, she's looking around and she says, everyone else in the EU is blaming all their problems on Russia, disingenuously, so I'll do the same thing. So it's Wagner PMC is responsible for this big surge of illegal immigrants. So she says, oh, well, a bunch of the illegal immigrants are from sub-Saharan Africa, and there's a bunch of sub-Saharan African dictators who have small contingents of Wagner PMC mercenaries working for them. Therefore, this is part of Russia's asymmetric hybrid war to retaliate against Italy for supporting Ukraine. This is completely stupid. Yes, numerous African dictators have contingents of Wagner PMC people. This has been going on for decades and decades. Your run-of-the-mill African dictator always wants some core group of white people to be their special forces in case a rival tribe stages an uprising or a coup d'etat. It used to be Rhodesians and white South Africans. That went on for decades. In fact, when Nigeria finally launched a major offensive against Boko Haram, eyewitnesses were saying that the offensive was being led by elderly white men. I mean, this was in mainstream media. And even the mainstream media said that it looked like some of these same white guys from Rhodesia in South Africa who have been working for African leaders since the 70s and whatnot were, being redeployed. Well, they've gotten too old now. And so now you've got these guys from Russia and some of them are from like Kazakhstan and whatnot. But essentially, these guys are to replace the Rhodesians and the white South Africans that they used to employ. Because these African dictators, they all want a core special forces of white people to hold the line. They don't trust their own countrymen. That's just how it's been for many decades. If Meloni doesn't turn this around, the only hope Italians have is to elect someone who's willing to stand before them and say, vote for me and I'll be the bad guy that the media is going to say I am anyway. I will withdraw Italy from every international refugee treaty. I will not let one single ship dock. I don't care if the boat's sinking off the coast of Italy. We're not going to bring them to Italian shores. And that's how it's going to have to be. Now, on the other side, Partito Democratico, which is the largest left-wing party in Italy, has a brand new leader, Elly Schlein. Now, the media loves her. All across Europe, America, Canada, the media is praising her as the greatest thing that's ever happened. So, Elly Schlein, well, she comes from a long line of radical leftists. So, first of all, she's campaigned in America for Barack Obama 2 times. She has citizenship in 3 countries, Switzerland, Italy, and America. So why should a major Italian party have a transnational person who's campaigned for politicians in foreign countries? That doesn't even make sense to me. So her father is Ashkenazi from Switzerland, and he's an international academic who teaches political science, and you can probably guess what kind of politics he teaches. His mother is also a left-wing academic. Her mother's father was a communist Italian politician back in the day. Now, she is blatantly the stereotype of international socialism and open borders, all that. And that's why the media is just absolutely gushing over her. When Italy got its first female prime minister in history, that was a bad thing. But suddenly, oh, Partito Democratico has their first female leader. Oh, it's so great. Oh my God. They love it. It's the complete opposite. And guess what? If you don't like her politics, you're anti-Jewish and anti-gay. How convenient that you're not allowed to criticize the leader of a major political party. To make this even more clown world, they attack her critics as being anti-Jewish. Oh, you just don't like her because she's a Jewish lesbian, blah, 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 blah. Well, Ellie Schlein disavows being Jewish. She says she's not a Jewish person because her mother's not Jewish. And she says that, traditional Jewish law says that Jewishness passes through the mother. And a lot of Jews actually don't like her because she's made statements supporting the Palestinians and she's been really critical of Israel. And she even made some comment saying that she doesn't have a Jewish nose, she has an Etruscan nose. And this comment was ridiculed by everyone, including Jewish people. This is the reality right now. The so-called far-right fascist party won. Meloni became prime minister, and illegal immigration has roughly tripled right now, and the primary left-wing opposition has now gone full Bolshevik and is fully promoting international socialist, open borders, etc. All right, thanks for watching this video. Click the like button, post a comment below, tell me what you think about this. And please subscribe to my backup channels on BitChute and Odyssey. There's no telling when YouTube will ban this channel for good. As I said earlier, I used to get way more traffic, but I'm being heavily suppressed right now and censored on YouTube. All right, click the subscribe button. New video every few days.